Welcome to the College of Education 10-Minute Research Break, a podcast devoted to highlighting research by Illinois State University's College of Education, faculty, staff, and students. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and take a break with us.
Hi, I'm Tricia Klass. Today I'm talking with Dr. Miranda Lynn, faculty in the Curriculum and Instruction Department. This article reflects Dr. Lynn's interest in international students studying in the United States. She, too, was an international student pursuing her degree. Welcome, Miranda, and thank you for talking with me.
Thank you, Tricia.
Well, your article is very timely and interesting. Could you summarize what the current literature notes as the key challenges to international students studying in the United States?
Sure. Pursuing a higher degree in America can lead to an overwhelming life and cultural transition for most international students. It's believed that international students experience greater difficulties than their American colleagues as they adapt to a wider range of social and academic situations within the American educational community, regardless of their high educational aspirations and academic skills. Topmost among the cultural differences experienced by international students in America is language. The international students that study in America come from more than 180 countries where English is neither an official language. As a result, most international students have to cope with language barriers at the same time face challenges academically, culturally, and emotionally. Even for those whose official language is English, for instance, research has found that Indian students also had difficulty comprehending lecture because they came across different English accents and teaching styles. Mm-hmm. In addition to changes associated with language barriers and academic concerns, international students also face social and cultural changes. Because their families and social networks are left behind in their home country, international students have to build new social networks, and these networks are often very different from their old ones. Research has indicated that international students from English-speaking countries are most likely to have 3 or more close American friends, whereas students from East Asia often have no close American friends. Cultural differences also affect international students' ability to form social relationships. Each culture has its norms, beliefs, values, and ways of life, and concepts such as friendships are viewed differently in different cultures. For example, Asian students typically like to socialize with each other after class, and as a result, they perceive American students to be distant and difficult to approach because they don't spend time with each other as much as Asian students do. Cultural differences can also contribute to one's perception and his or her academic performance. In America, the two-way learning process in higher education has been practiced for many years, and active participation is always encouraged and rewarded. However, this interchange between student and professor can be perceived as a difficulty for students from the cultures where they respect and regard their teachers as the authorities. I mean, international students do face lots and lots of challenges, but this doesn't really stop them coming to America to pursue a higher degree. A new report which was released 3 days ago indicating that the number of international students at the colleges and university in the States has increased by 6% to a record height of 764,495 in the...
It's a growing population, but you have the latest data to confirm that. What was the particular purpose of your study, and how did you select your methodology to answer your research questions?
This study actually was intended to understand the lived experiences of international students. I was interested in finding out how international students adjusted their psychological, social, and academic behavior to fit in. While many research have explored international students' academic achievements and social adaptation process, they tended to look at these issues separately. Well, in contrast, my study actually viewed international students' academic and social, cultural experiences as equally important and intertwined. There were many survey studies done on international students in the past, but it is suggested that interview would be the best technique to gather information regarding international students' lived experiences in America.
And for that reason, you did an in-depth study of 6 students, and you had 5 major themes that emerged. Could you summarize these themes and maybe focus on 1 or 2 themes that you thought were the most insightful?
The 5 major themes were academic work, social life, cultural experiences in America, social service, support, and financial support. Today, I would like to focus on academic work and social life. The finding of my study suggests that all students experienced significant difficulties academically during their early adjustment stage, and the language barrier was the major factor contribute to how well they perform at school. All 6 participants in this study reported that in coming to America to pursue their degrees, getting good grades was their priority. So when they didn't do well, as expected, they often felt disappointed and stressed. Take Charlie, for example. He felt like quitting school and going home because he couldn't understand what his professor was talking about in class. And he couldn't understand many of their questions, so he couldn't answer them. And in addition to the language problems, international students also face another challenge that was related to their academic performance. The majority of them stated that studying in America was very different because of the different teaching style and interaction with professors. Many of them stated that they often feel stressed and appear less smart as compared to their American peers because of insufficient knowledge about the educational system and teaching style. Charlie said that I'm not used to ask for help from my teachers or talk in class, so sometimes they think I'm very dumb. Mm-hmm. Research has shown that close teacher-student collaboration can lead to positive outcomes for international students academically. In this study, many of the students who worked closely with their professor tended to do better in school. And those who were not close to their teachers actually believed that if they could interact more with their professors, they could do better in school. And regarding social life, all the participants find it very hard to engage in new social circles. Oftentimes, they feel lonely, homesick, lack of support for mental and emotional fulfillment because they do not have time or ways to form a new social life. This study found that the younger the age of the participant when he or she moved to America, the shorter the period of adaptation process he or she needed. For example, the youngest participant in my study came to the States when he was 17. She would hang out with everybody and she made many new friends because she participated in a lot of local activities. And older international students tend to focus on their studies and work, and they do not really feel comfortable to hang out with anyone but their own people.
And most of the older students, were they graduate students too, so they had heavier academic load? Now, what were your major conclusions? What do you think are some implications for U.S. institutions who invite these students to come over and study?
I think we need to ask ourselves, how do we really help someone learn if he or she doesn't think and read and write or study in the same way like we do? And I believe that early contact with American culture and influence by cultural ambassadors in academic environments seems to make a significant and lasting impact on international students' perceptions. And my participants also suggest that social support in the process of assisting international students toward their goal of making a successful life transition is very important. The increased interaction between local and international students could also be a rewarding cultural experience for the local teachers, students, and staff. Higher education institutions provide an opportunity to meet people from around the world and to gain an understanding of different cultures. In this era of increasing globalization, it is critical for faculty and staff to be culturally responsive to the international students' different needs. If American college students are not able to travel far, they still can engage in intergroup dialogue in person at the college campus. I think bridging the relationship between American schools and international students will help international students to succeed, as well as encourage faculty, staff, and students to share their cultures and respect and accept one another.
Well, thank you so much. This was very interesting. I'm sure others would enjoy reading your article.
Thank you.
The full citation for today's article is Lynn, 2012, Students of Different Minds, Bridging the Gaps of International Students Studying in the U.S., published in the U.S. China Education Review, pages 333 to 344. The citation can also be found on the website coe.ilstu.edu/research/podcast. Thank you and join us for future research breaks.
This podcast is sponsored by Illinois State University's College of Education, where we strive to assure that all students realize the democratic ideal through our teaching, research, and service to the field of education.